Greetings and Pillar Next is Ancient Gladiator with more Pillar Loves tabletop games. Today with Fire and Axe, a Viking Saga. Glad I could find a copy of this again. It's a fun game. As part of the setup, each of these little starbursts will have a town on them. Big starburst will have the big town. We'll shuffle the rune deck. Some of the rune cards have a conflict symbol. Players can decide at a time if they want to include these extra aggressive cards. Each player will start out with one of them. The player will start out with the color ship and appropriate Viking figures. A random player will be determined. First player will get a bonus point. Second player gets 2, and so on until everyone has points equal to their place in the turn order. The 9 sagas for each age will be shuffled, and from each age, 6 cards will be drawn, or will be put into a deck, so that the age 1 cards are on top, the age 2 are underneath, the age 3 are at the bottom. And at the bottom of the age 3 cards are these tokens for when the end of the game would be triggered. And finally, the wind tracker starts with the blue circle in the south. So that south sailing is really nice. And the north sucks. So starting with the first player's first turn, you'll want to start loading up. Every load of crew member and good costs a day. You have 7 days to work with each turn. You do not have to use them all. And they're split between your home and your sailing actions. So we're going to spend 5 days and we're going to load up 2 crew members on our ship. And 1 of each type of good, including the good in demand fish. More slots on your boat will open up as that age becomes available in the sagas. When you are done loading, and bear in mind that you do not have to load all the way, you pick a homeland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and that's where your boat is. It's now in port. While you are in port with your homeland, you may draw rune cards at a cost of 1 card per day. You cannot play rune cards while you are in a homeland. And it'll specifically say whether or not it's counts as an action or other thing. It usually doesn't take up time, but in general, they're mainly playable on your own turn. Okay. And then sailing. You have a number of safe sailing days equal to the number on the windrows. When you play a rune card, like let's say I spent a day sailing to go out. When you play a rune card, before you resolve the effect, you have the option to rotate it by 90 degrees. One way or the other way. With enough rotation, you can get it up to the north and have like 4 nice days in the north. Good luck keeping it there, though. And then resolve whether the effect is. So, like for Honor Debt, you choose a player and they have to give you one of their supplements. This is one to play on somebody while they focused on like the 4 value supplements. You have the option to just discard the card to change the wind, but if an effect forces you to discard, you don't have that opportunity. So, from port to sea, from sea to sea, from sea to port. All cost 1 sailing day. If you ever exceed your sailing days, you have to start losing crew. So, my first sailing action was to go here. My second will be to go Port Hamburg. While you're in a port, you can do tasks. You are limited to 1 task per port per turn. They do not cost any days. Your first task is trading. We're going to trade fish because they're in demand. So, rules of trading. First, the port cannot have goods in it already. Secondly, if it's part of a region, each port in the region must have different goods. And then you'll get points equal to the value of the port, plus 2 if it's the good in demand. So, my turn was loading up 5 things, sailing twice, and going to the port. It is now the end of my turn. These are my options. I can stay where I'm at, or I can lose all but 1 crew and return to the wintering zone. Even if I haven't used up all 7 days, if I declare the end of my turn, I have that option. And then, if you ever lose your last crew off your boat, you have to go back to the wintering zone. So this was my first turn. Let's say next turn it'll come back to me. We go 1 sail, 2 sail, 3. Deliver the furs for those points. 4, 5. Deliver the last good to the region for those points. So this region has been filled up with goods, which completes this saga trade in this in these towns for the region. When you get a saga card, it goes to you. You can keep it face down, I believe, or face up. And it's always going to go to the player who completes it. Even if other players contributed, like someone else got these first 2 towns and then I sniped the last one, then I get the card anyway. It doesn't say to keep it face up or face down, I don't think. But regardless, when the saga card is taken, it'll get replaced with the new one from the deck. Okay, so that was trading. Well, let's go on to the next turn. Clear our selling days. Then it comes back to me. Let's demonstrate how raiding works. Okay, when you go to raid a town, it has to have this whole thing there. You'll roll 1 die at a time until you've rolled 3 dice or your crew, or you succeed. You have to exceed the value. This is a 3, so I have to roll a 4+. However, there's a good there, so I get to reduce their value by 1. So I need a 3 or better. I succeed. If I failed, I would lose a crew member, and I'd have the option to either keep rolling or give up on the attack. When you take a town, you'll flip it over, you'll get that many points immediately. So there's 3 points. Onto my board. I probably want to make change, but I'm going to do that later. And then you keep the town as a trophy. It's going to count for a bonus at the end alongside your sagas. And then the last task you can attempt is settle. What you'll do is you'll take up to 3 dice or up to the number of crew you're willing to risk if you have that many crew. So the most I can risk is 2 crew. This would be on a different turn unless I decided to go to this one on the same turn. So I'm going to risk 2 crew since I have 2 crew. The roll, again, like the raid, I need to do better than the value, and the good makes it 1 less. There. I roll 2 5s. So I didn't lose anyone, and I successfully settle. If I had failed on any of the dice, I would lose a crew. Let's say I rolled a 1 and a 5. So I lose 1 and I settle 1. But then I'm out of crew, so I'm going back to Wandering Zone. If you settle the last region needed for the Saga, then you'll claim that card. Likewise with Raid, if you take the 1 or 2 towns it lists, like Paris and Bordeaux for this one, then you'll take that card. And some cards will show like extra points. You'll get those points too. So it's possible that when a new Saga card comes up, it's already been done, at which point it's discarded completely. So a region that has all the goods in it and the trade card comes up, that gets discarded. Settle card comes up, all that region's been settled, that gets discarded, and so on. So the way the game will end is when the last Saga has been added to the Saga selection. The player who revealed the final round tokens takes them and adds them to their longship. At the start of their turn, they have to place one in an empty spot over here. And then once they've placed the third token, the game ends immediately at the end of their turn. Alternatively, if all the remaining sagas are completed, the game ends immediately. So when the game ends, we go to final scoring. The players compare who's wrecked the most towns, the player who's done the most, or the players who are tied for the most, get 3 victory points per town. Regardless of the size or the treasure value, it's 3 VP per town for the Bloodied Axe. This is a very violent achievement. Settlements. Wherever you have your figure is worth a number of points equal to the original port value multiplied by the number of people in that region. So if you've got all your people in one region, that's a ton of points. So there's 3 times 3 is 9 times 3. So 9, 9, and 9 is 27. That's pretty good for that region. However, it doesn't matter who's actually in this region. It'll still be the multiplier. So let's say someone's playing red and someone else is playing blue. Then you'll get 9, they'll get 9, they'll get 9. The independent ports are not tied to a region, so they're only going to be worth their base value. They're really, it's kind of a desperate situation to settle there, but it's still an option. And then finally, there's Saga sets. You'll notice that each of the sagas are tied to a homeland: Denmark, Norway, Sweden. For each homeland, the player with the most sagas gets 10 VP per card. The second most gets 5 per card. In the event of a tie for most, the tie players each get 10. And then there's nobody gets the second most. In the event of a tie for second most, the tie players get 5 each. Once all that's been calculated, final scoring is over. The winner is the player with the most VP, and it's worth noting that there's these nice little extra VP tokens, like 10s and 50s. for keeping track. There's no tiebreaker for this game. But then again, ties are gonna be rare. I almost never see the game end in a tie. But there's still that potential for it to actually happen. So, who knows? Why do I love this game? Because Vikings. There's the three things you can count on for me. It's either because Cyberpunk, because Vikings, or because Cold War. But it's just kind of a crazy adventure of a game. Just rolling dice. Trying to see if you can get to certain opportunities before other people can. Having to kind of work together to settle regions. Beating someone to a saga that they had their eye on. Yeah, there's quite a bit to this game. The runes are fun. They can help you like with bonuses and stuff. Or mess with your opponents. Like this is the second major addition I've seen for this game. The first one, it looked different. The ships were instead of this shield, and yeah, I almost wish I could have both versions, just for comparison's sake. But I don't think it's in print anymore, but there's still some copies floating around somewhere. So good luck finding one, because I recommend it, and I seriously hope people can check it out. Fire and Axe, Viking Saga. It's awesome. All right, thanks very much for watching. This has been Pillar. We'll see you next time.